Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Today is the 28th of July. We will be discussing the topic of a few pairs with patterns, especially because we have been talking about the gold pattern on the gold, which is a cup and handle. But most importantly, we will talk about trades as of today until the end of the week. What can we actually be looking at? And I've got some requests on looking at NZD USD. So we'll just dive straight into NZD USD at this moment of time. And because this is also something that has been alerted to me using my heat map, one of my heat maps and one of the software that I actually use quite actively. We've got several others as well. Some are actually free, some are actually, costing some money to subscribe on and things like that. So I combine it so that I get a better idea on which pair to pick in accordance to trend. And usually, when we want to get accurate trend, it is usually based on higher time frames. So hence the reason I have to pick it based on higher time frame, because I'm very used to swing trading, long term, medium to long term type trading. So then now I am actually also helping out traders to actually look into intraday trades based on those high frame type trading. But not all the high frame, long term type trading would actually be fitting into the intraday. So hence the reason I have to look for more and more long-term ones in order for me to filter out at least a few out of those ones. So that is basically what I've been doing so far. Now here we are looking at a lot of confirmation of NZD weakness. Okay, so there's a lot of weakness on NZD. You can actually look at both sessions. The one on this column here are actually on the Asian session. Okay, so the closing of the Asian session now basically has transferred the trend, also the volume and the liquidity and all that over to the European American session. So we've got the European session, of course. We got the UK session, because sometimes we don't put the UK session inside the European session because in London is basically the highest traded FX transaction per day. Is actually the heaviest one is in London. So we sort of see it as its own entity. Then you got a UK trading session, you got a US trading session, and you got a European trading session. The European trading session usually have got the top three, mainly the German Frankfurt session, then you got the French one, and then the Italian one. Okay, so these are the main ones in the European, but also other countries as well would actually be included in it. But the predominant one is usually the Frankfurt trading session. Then you got the UK trading session, then the US. So it's all overlapping now at this moment of time. So now your time is about 9 o'clock, 9:20, almost 9:20, 9:18. My time here is about 4 plus. We are ahead of London about 2 hours or 3 hours. So that actually does mean that, they are in midday session at the moment in London. So that's why you see it's still very, very active things that are going on here. And what you can actually see as well is that you've got a lot of participation on what you call that buying of the CHF at this moment of time. So you see we have got a lot of conflict going on at the moment with trade tensions and everything else. And in the European side and also in the Asian side. So the US, will have is still in trading tensions with China. So what happens is that at the moment we get more of that coming in the news, then you will see more people will buy the Asian safe haven, which is the Japanese yen. That's why you see the Japanese yen has gone up and up and up. Okay, so then there's a lot of buying of the Japanese yen. But then now, because of the Asian sessions sort of closed and are winding down already, then you still see the trading, the tensions now is also between the Asian side and the European side as well. But also we have got a lot of other things, other factors that are actually pulling down the value of the euro at this moment of time. But when we have all that kind of risk, then the traders would actually put their money into the European safe haven, which is the CHF. Okay, so this is how we have to sometimes separate between the sessions and also between the safe havens. There are two very active safe haven type currencies, which are the Japanese yen and the CHF. So when something goes on politically, geopolitically in Asia, then the safe haven that will actually have a lot of buying power, or a lot of people will put the buying power into that safe haven, will be Japanese yen. If there's something happening in the European side, especially with the UK and everything else, then you will see that the safe haven for the European side, or the main session we call it, will be the CHF. Okay, so now we are confirming, we're looking at all this as well. NZD, you can see the participation is not a lot though. Okay, we have got, see the bar here. The bar actually is not only about how bearish it is, but how much liquidity participation in it. Now, the only worry I have about NZD USD is that it's very low participation. Trend is still on the downside. Even technically, we can see it's on the downside. But then we want to also confirm on the charts whether or not it's worth actually trading right now, or plan to enter the market with a pending order right now. Because the thing is, the thing that is really important is for us to actually produce intraday trades and not actually too long-term trade, correct? Because most of us out there, we probably want to have intraday trade. So we need to be very clear with what we want as a trader as well, whether or not we are, intraday, short-term, long-term, whether you are a swing trader or not. So in terms of trend, yes, you've got it right. We've got a lot of selling pressure going on for NZD USD at this moment of time. But in terms of style of trading, whether or not you are more into intraday, scalping, short-term, medium-term, long-term, has to be decided as well. So hence the reason what I'll do is that I'll show you what we have at this moment of time in terms of the daily chart for NZD USD, in terms of a trend analysis first. Okay, so let's start with that. I'll just get rid of all these ones here. And then as we move to lower time frames, that means that we are moving towards a different styles of trading. Okay, shorter term, medium term, and all that. So we want to look into the trend firstly on the daily or even the weekly. Okay, and we can see that just by movement first, you can see that the movement is to the upside. The most recent cluster of candles is already showing you the upward type movement, but the strength of the trend from all the EMAs you can see is not enough yet to be clear to tell us that yes, the buying will take place right now, or the selling will take place right now. So at this moment of time, we're just going on the weekly, and we see that, okay, maybe it will find resistance there, but then it's why does it actually have got this movement to the upside on the very long term? So we need to actually then confirm and see what's going on the daily, on the 4 hour as well. Okay, so here, for example, when we go, when we look into NZD USD, not sure why it's doing that. On the daily chart, you can see that it is still doing the upward type movement, and then you have got a bit of bullishness sort of look into it. Okay, but of course current candles and all that is looking like it's got a bit of a bearish candle there. But then when we look to the left, even though despite we there is this movement to the upside of this zigzag going up, we need to always ask ourselves, what is the threat of it going up? Now the threat is very clear to the left. Okay, to the left we have got a very big resistance that has brought price down to at least 1,200 plus, almost 1,300 pips to the downside, right up here. So we need that closing price draw resistance zone, not resistance line, but resistance zone up there. Okay, one is at the highest body we can see, and then we've got a second line that we can actually do onto the highest wick that you can see. So we've got two prices right there, okay, as a resistant, as possible resistant lines that makes out a zone. So anywhere between 6,730 to 6,760. Now what that tells me is that if I were to look into having a zone based on psychological numbers, I want to be very careful from 6,720 onwards. Okay, so I will draw another line at 6720 because at 6730 to the downside is 6720 psychological level. Okay, so I want to draw, this is me drawing it on the daily chart. It doesn't matter where you draw it, but then I'm just taking you through from higher time frame, and then we will go into the lower time frames. Okay, right after. So 6720. I want to just plot all these areas that could potentially be your what do you call that, your resistance area, and where price, you know, would actually make the turnaround to the downside. So that's 6720, that's one of that there. Now for example, we are at 0.6657. So 57 at the lower level of 6657 is 50 psychological level, right? So then we have to do a line, we have to plot a line under the 6657 at 6650 psychological level as well. Okay, so we just want to make it really simple, whereby we want to look to the left and we have seen that you've got resistance there. Then we want to pay attention to current price as well. So where we would probably be, will start trading to the downside is definitely not now. It has to be under the 6650. So at least 6640. So we want to mark that line at 6640 as well, so that we know that, okay, if price were to touch there and then go lower than it, then we could potentially find more sellers coming in at that level. Okay, so 6640. Okay, so there you go. So now we have got sort of a zone. Okay, so what we need to do is, for those who are really interested in selling the market for NZD/USD. Why selling the market? Because as we have already visited the heat map, and majority of the markets are telling us, majority of the market meaning both the Asian sessions as well as the main sessions, have already signaled us a very strong bearishness for the NZD and NZD crosses, but we need to individually analyze them. So for with NZD USD, we want to move to the downside, but then we don't want to pay too much attention with what has actually happened. What has already happened is a lot of bullishness and movement, but then with the trend and the heat maps and all that has signaled us a downside. So because of the downside, we need to first plot all these lines and look at where is our box and how do we actually know where do we start trading, where do we start getting interested in selling NZD USD will be under this box. So it has to be under this box. So this box now has become sort of like a PRZ. Okay, so PRZ stands for your potential reversal zone. So you can do that there. Okay, so which also means that if at all it doesn't reverse, and let's say for example it does the total opposite, it doesn't reverse but it pierces through that box to the upside, then it may be driven by other factors that make it more bullish. Then the trend would actually be continuing to the bullish side. But now we are boxing this area here as a potential reversal zone. Okay, so now our selling will only take place if at all price reaches 6640, let's say. Okay, for those who want to wait a little bit longer, then you can actually start trading a sell at 6610, which is 10 pips under the 6620 psychological level. Okay, so we want to, and now we understand that our location for entering the market has to be under this box to actually really be sure that it is more selling that is going to take place. Okay, not to trade at this moment of time, but the trend, we are quite clear in terms of more and more selling pressure for the NZD USD. Okay, so now as you guys can see, I have already plotted that PRZ area. We are now preparing a proper location to enter the market for a sell for NZD USD. Okay, so now we haven't found anything nice on the daily chart. We've just managed to plot that box, and now we will move on to the 4-hour chart. So on the 4-hour chart, if you zoom out a little bit first, just to get a bit of an idea. Okay. Now we can see that even in the 4-hour chart, we have got similar area of resistance, okay, which is right under the box. But what I need to also do is to look to the left a little bit more, and you can see there are more area of resistance on the 4-hour chart as well. Now, there is one area here that has got a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of selling power, but it is a very significant area of resistance, mainly because this area right here you guys can see, and this is on the 4-hour chart, okay, because we have got all these little candles, and when you see little candles like this with the wicks at the very top, and they all move sideways and they give you the wick at the top, this is an area to pay a lot of respect for, okay. And also if you look at it carefully, this area is sort of a very powerful resistant area as well, because it has found resistance in this format of sideways candles with the wicks at the top, but also it found resistance at the one of the EMAs as well. As you can see, you see all these prices here, it got caught up and tangled, caught up with that 100 exponential moving average right there, and then it found resistance there and it came down. So what is really important is that we need to plot this area as well. You can just plot this one line here and look at where it gives us the price. It gives us the 66.17, which is only pips away from the 66.20 area. Okay, so I need to plot the 66.20 area as well. There you go. And you now have this area right here. Now, what I'm doing right now is I've got that box right there, but also I need to probably widen this box a little bit and pull it downwards right here, okay? So that you have got a better area to actually look at where this resistance box is. Now, we've already done that. What this means is that it's probably a better idea for us now to trade. If you are looking into the downside to trade for NZD USD SL, then it's probably best to actually look into the 6620 and below. Okay, so your plan for selling would be a bit safer if we have respected all these lines that we have plotted just now, and we have actually and we are thinking of trading only after the price has gone under this blue box, because this blue box is now your PRZ, your potential reversal zone. We don't usually trade it in a potential reversal zone because we need to monitor and understand whether or not the trend will be strengthened depending on how the candles are trading, whether they are keep on trading inside the PRZ. If they are trading, the candles are only inside the PRZ, that means there's a lot of uncertainty. That means there's a lot of sideways type market going on. We cannot make any decisions. Okay, but if, for example, the candles, the power has been given to the sellers to pull the prices down, and then it pierces through this box going towards the downside, then you know it is more on the bearish side. If it is vice versa, if it's on the upside, more on the bullish side. Okay, so now it is actually already done, the plotting of the PRZ, which is also a risk type evaluation. Okay, so we know that we want to trade under the 6620. Okay, so under the 6620, the other thing that we can actually also do is go back to the daily chart and look at whether or not under this box, has there ever been a very strong sell by a single bearish mother candle? So you just take your time and you go, you see there's some bullishness here, of course, a single candle. We have some bearishness right there. I just want to look at whether or not we've got stronger bearishness. We've got one right there as well, okay, here. And this one here, let's say from there right to there, it's only about 43 pips. It's not that significant. Anything that's above 80, above 100 and all that, above the hundreds would probably be much better. So I am a little bit skeptical to know, to be sure of whether or not there will be a breakout to the downside powerfully. Maybe you will have a little bit of breakout that is not very powerful, because it only could mirror the location of strong, powerful bearish mother candles. So at this moment of time, I don't find any here, but maybe it's a bit too soon for me to judge the market that way. I probably need to go to the left and go further to the left and see whether I could find them. Now you can see that on average, every time it breaks out with a single bearish candle, it is almost the same type length, okay? But except for this one here, yes, we have got something that is quite long. I would say longer than the average other candles that I have talked about. This one here is about 175 pips, not too bad. But with this candle, I don't really like this mother candle a little bit. You know why? Because of that that long wick to the downside. When you have long wick to the downside, that shows that it doesn't have enough power to go down. So that candle is not really a very, even though it has given about 175 pips in the body of the candle, the body of that mother candle, but then that wick just puts me off a little bit. So I want to look for more chances to the left, whether or not I can find a single bearish mother candle, which is a little bit more confident, having more confidence compared to the one that I've just seen and showed you earlier on, just now. That one's not really, you know, that's not bad, 175 pips or so, but it's not the one that is going to make us feel a little bit more secure, you know, because, you know, anything can happen. And I want to be riding the trend to the downside when it happens based on bearish candles of the past as well. Okay, so here, this one here is much better. We have got something here. This one here is looking not too bad. The wick to the downside is not too long. This one here, my guess is also about 200. It's about, oh, not 200, 146. Okay, it's not too bad. And I just want to look at when roughly that was. That was in back in 2004, you see. So I have to go back, we have to go back as traders so far back to find the bearish candle. If we have found something much earlier, let's say just few candles away from the current price, and we've got a very long bearish candle, that also tells us that this movement is quite fresh. But now we've got to go back so far back, so that's giving me a little bit more skepticism of whether or not that downside NZD/USD can really actually happen. Okay, so I just want to be very sure in terms of the power of mother candles as well. So I'll take my time and I'll go back. Okay, there's always no rush, because it's probably better for you to not rush and get more information rather than rushing and then you float. And that's where it's, you know, really risky. So here, for example, we have got another one right here, which gave us about 75. And I'm not really getting a good vibe of the downside break with very powerful candles, because there's just simply not many, you know. It's just not even 100 plus and all that pips. 175 that was just now didn't really, was not from a candle that given a lot of strength. It gave us a candle that reversed actually with a very long wick to the downside. So it's not the type of candle that I want. So here, yes, we do have some potential, but I would say, you know, not more than about 50 pips or so if you're looking into the selling, just to be safe. Once it breaks out of the 66.20, let's say you start selling at 66.10, be sure to just grab about 30 to 40 pips first, because at this moment of time, the breakout to the downside is not really very convincing at this moment of time, especially based on the daily chart. Okay, so now we move downwards to the 4-hour chart as well. This is for NZD/USD. Okay, give me a second, and let us just do it like this. Okay, I just want to look at 4-hour, and I want to look at the behavior of candles under this whole area, okay, under that blue box area. So I just want to see, do we actually get a better, more convincing mother candle in the maybe the 4-hour chart? Okay, but it looks like it's almost the same. You see, it doesn't really give me that convincing type, what do you call that, movement of the candle. So here we're still looking at the same thing. We've got something there, but again, it's not really very convincing. On the upside, for example, maybe above this whole lines here to the upside, perhaps you want to be also evaluating and see whether or not we have got better opportunities to the upside with bullish single candles to the upside as well. So now it's NZD/USD, not bad in terms of trends, telling us, great, we've got a very bearish type move in NZD/USD, especially against the US dollar. US dollar is going up at this moment of time, but it's not showing us on the chart. It's not giving us very, very clear or very convincing, confident type candles, or especially the mother candles and all that. So I want to be very careful with this trade on NZD/USD. If I were to see a breakout and I want to sell it, like I've mentioned, maybe 20, 30 pips only, and then I want to be on the safe side of choosing another pair and being sure with other pairs, as opposed to riding NZD/USD at this moment of time only on the trend side of it, but all the other things are not giving us a lot of confidence on entering the trade for NZD/USD. And you can see here as well, you see we've got, even on the 4-hour chart, we have got a candle that has a very, very long wick, and the wick itself is about 500 pips to the downside. So what does that actually mean? That actually meant that in the past we have had candles that rejected 500 pips and above from going down. Okay, so basically it has minused and given back that 500 pips, if you want to say that, whereby the body did come down there to some point, and then the body, which is a bearish, which total bearishness, couldn't maintain its bearishness, and then you had this very big needle-like structure all the way at the very top. So then the whole body became really, really small. So that means that at that time there were loads of exhaustion of going to the downside as traders, bearish traders, okay, or sellers. So, and then we had another one here, very long wick to the downside as well, which basically tells us that it is, not going to go down more because it's really exhausted. Okay, so this is a very good sign as well, telling me that I think we have to be very careful of the breakdown to the downside, even though we are hearing a lot of news, trend and all that, NZD/USD bearish, 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 but then this is not what we are getting. It doesn't match what we hear and what we know in terms of trend, does not actually match with what we are looking at in the charts, okay, or onto the charts. If you find a match, news is telling, and then you also find the same onto the chart, then by all means, it's probably a good one for pending order as well, or spot trading when it happens. It's entirely up to you. Okay. So we are on New Zealand dollar. See, you've got some bullishness, I mean, like buying taking place at this area right here. You see, it's up here, but then this is where it has appreciated greatly as well. Of course, the price quite well. That is from that point here, but then you've got another point down here as well. So maybe the traders can actually get tricked tricked by the market, whereby let's say it start coming downwards and you think that, okay, it is now time that it's got a very strong downtrend, so I'm just going to sell. But then once it reaches close to this area here, that is probably where it wants to reverse. Why? Because if it reverses at a lower point, not here but somewhere lower, not here but somewhere lower, that means it wants to buy low. Okay, so this, you've got a low point already here, so you need to give the market the benefit of the doubt, and then you want to wait and see for yourself whether or not it would actually go down, and not get too excited into selling or anything like that. You need to look at how it reacted to this area right here. Did it actually go past it and go down more, or did it actually start reversing to go up? Okay, if it start reversing to go up, then you know that it's one thing to ride along a probable trend to the upside. Okay, but if it does actually come lower than this, lower than the box as well, 6610, I think that's about 6610 onwards, then you know that it's probably got some room to the downside. But it's just that I don't know how strong will it come down to. If it breaks out to the downside, how strong is that selling? Because it doesn't give me that kind of vibe, that kind of information through the charts as well at this moment of time. Okay, for NZD. So we've got the upward type movement going on. This one here as well on the ADX. We've got more strength right there, but again, that one gets caught up there. So it's not a very clear one at this moment of time. And if at all it's a selling, like I've mentioned, then the selling will take place at 66.10. Okay, and you just want to take about 20 or 30 pips first, just to be on the safe side, because it doesn't give me a very good location at this very, under this box here, to tell me that you've got a lot of selling that has taken place under that box. So I wouldn't want to force the market, force myself to believe that the market has got a lot of selling opportunities down here. Okay, it doesn't so much. Okay, so that is your NZD USD. We just want to monitor and see how it respects that box right there, and know what is the area that we are looking at. Okay, so we want to wait until it pierces out, whether upside or downside. But meantime, it's quite risky to be trading in between that. I know it is quite significant as well. Close to 150, almost 150 pips, 130 to 150 pips. Also is this whole area here. But again, you want to be safer by thinking of entering the market only after it has actually gone under the box or above the box. Okay. All right, guys. Okay, we've got more people. Hi there, guys. Welcome. We've started a little bit, but we're talking about NZD USD at this moment of time. If you guys have got any requests for any pair, just let me know. But at this moment of time, for NZD USD, I know there's a lot of signals out there for selling NZD USD. You've got a lot of trend as well. But then I think personally, it's a little bit too early. I don't even find it to be very attractive in selling under this box, because I don't see the power so much. I think it's probably better for us to also explore other pairs. And you guys are okay if I talk about gold first at this moment of time? Yeah. Or is there any other pair that you guys want me to take a look at right now, because the market's moving? All right. You guys okay? Okay. We have got a US data coming up very soon. I think in about 10 minutes or so, 5 o'clock my time, 10 o'clock your time. It is on the consumer confidence, if I'm not mistaken. And that one there is quite important. I think it has been categorized as a high impact data release as of today. So we're going to be also careful in trading that. If at all it's giving us the bearish sentiment with that, most likely, most probably, then it will, if it's bearish, lower numbers, then it will go down the dollar. Okay, so, okay. All right, Ching Ho. All good so far. If you got a pair you want to take a look at as well, Cheng Ho, we're just looking at NZD USD, and we're looking at GBP JPY as well. Alfred has suggested us to look at that. If you have any suggestions as well, we'll be happy to go through them. So GBP JPY is the next one. So far, the one just now, NZD USD, I hope it's clear, Alfred, yeah? And we can then now move on to the You've mentioned GBP Jpy. Okay, right. Okay, so let me. Okay, good. So now, for example, with GBP Jpy, let me just also look at this table right here. With GBP Jpy, I don't see GBP Jpy, given a lot of interest as part of it at the very beginning here, but we do find GBP Jpy with very low sort of participation as well, and I could hardly see the bar there on this side here. I don't see any GBP Jpy. Okay. At this moment of time, there's a lot of, as you guys can see, this is updated by the seconds as well. Live feed, it gets reset at a specific time as well. And here we can see there's a lot of participation on the sell side for NZD CHF and also CAD CHF. We can take a look at those ones as well. For the GBP, there's some buying type opportunities for, especially for GBP NZD, because NZD is still seen as quite weak. We are looking at the appreciation of GBP NZD also, because now it's probably a good session to look at the GBP crosses as well. And now you can see you've got two opportunities on the buy side, but we need to analyze it, of course, GBP CAD and GBP NZD. You can see the arrow one here and the other one arrow there. There's an arrow there on NZD CHF as well on the sell side of it. Let me just type that. Okay, so we'll just look at GBP JPY as well. On the daily chart, let me just get rid of all these first. See. All right. So here, for example, I've drawn that trend line just now, but I thought I'd just draw it again. On the daily chart itself, it is trading in within sort of a symmetrical triangle. Okay, so why I draw that? For those who are new to drawing trend lines using, this kind of triangular type pattern, is that we then know whether or not it's close to a breakout area. Now, if it is really close to that angle right there, then it is giving us a signal that it might actually then break out from that area quite soon. Now, whether it's to the upside, downside, we need to do a trend analysis. Now, at this stage, it is moving to the side, to the sides. Okay, I mean sideways, moving sideways at this moment of time, and we're looking at the daily chart for GBP JPY, so it has not really registered the trend properly. Now, this is also reflected by the heat map I've just shown you as well. It didn't give us a very long bars, whether it's red or green. Okay, it's just giving us no participation in the market. But this is also reflected in the daily chart here. We cannot do anything in the daily chart. What we can actually do though is to look into the price, and then you want to also draw two lines based on the psychological numbers. Okay, so here, for example, you have 135 to the downside is 135.50. I'm just going to do two lines right here, 135.50. Sorry, 134. 135, sorry, 135.50. Okay. So we've got one right there, 135.50. The other one is above the current price. 135.80. I'll probably take that a couple of notch higher, so 136.00. Okay. There we go. All right, we've got that there. Okay, and it needs to break out from even a psychological level as well, and also break out from that triangular type drawings that I've just done based on trend line on the top, trend line bottom makes a triangle right there. Okay, so here usually what happens is that we need to look at what kind of triangle it is. Now this is called a symmetrical one. The symmetrical one usually tells us that if it does actually break out of that triangle, it usually is a trend continuation type breakout. Okay, so the breakout would actually be following the trend continuation. Now, in general, what we can see is a lot of sideways here, and we've still got most recent right here, higher highs, and we need higher lows and also higher highs to look into the upside. But here it is very, very difficult to make that prediction of what exactly could actually be, because it can easily be driven by, yeah, it can be driven by what do you call that? Something that happens in the news or something suddenly. So here, I just want you guys to keep aware on Gbp Jpy. Wouldn't be something that I would be very excited right now because of volume and participation is not there at this moment of time. You may have to wait really long, and you know things are going on the sideways at the moment. All right, let's look at your question, Tlali. Is it possible to look at AJ? Yes, of course. AUD JPY, and your TP is at 7403. So and your GBP CHF as well, TP. Okay, so let's look at, let's say, AUD JPY. You say your TP 7403. Okay, you want to tell me what's your direction? You're on the buy, on the sell for that one, for your AUD JPY, and also your GBP CHF. What's your direction? Okay, so GBP CHF is on 1.2972. 1.2972. Okay, so your AJ is for a sell. Okay, sorry, no. Your AJ is for a sell, and then your GBP JPU, GBP CHF is for a buy. Okay, cool. Yeah, we can look at those ones. No problem. Let's look at. Let's take a look at AUD JPY first. Okay. So here, let me also just take a look at this little indicator heat map that I have. So with the AUD JPY, we've got very low participation on AUD USD, but I wonder whether AUD JPY has the same. Not too bad. AUD JPY, at least you can see the bar right there. It is on the downside. AUD JPY, you are on the sell as well, but we will reevaluate and look at the pair on the trend, on the perspective of trend analysis. Your GBP CHF, let's say, okay, you've got your GBP CHF here, also almost the same like AUD JPY. It's not trading with very big volume of trend, but let's analyze it from a patterns technical perspective as well. So AUD JPY, we've got it up in the charts here. Let me just clear out and start fresh with the lines that I've drawn. Okay, so here let's start off with the daily chart. Oh, I see. Not CHF. Okay, so it's GBP CAD. Yes, okay, no problem. CAD. Okay, yeah. So we'll look at AUD JPY, and then we'll look at GBP CAD. Okay. So, but just before that, because it was a mistake. So GBP CAD. Do we see anything here on the CAD? Let me see. We've got a very good indication of GBP CAD picking up the volume and participation of the buy. So I would be interested in looking further on GBP CAD. But before that, let's look at AUD JPY first. Okay, so AUD JPY on a daily chart, as you guys can see, it is still, I think the bias is still, you know, on the upside, maybe making correction. But if we look at this area right here, it sort of has what do you call that, marked its territory for a resistant zone. Okay, so if I were to do that, I can actually mark perhaps here. If I want to bring it down lower, I can see that I can mark it based on this one here, and then this area here with the lower body, it has a resistance here right on the dot. It also, you know, mirrors very well around this area. So I will do multiple lines to create a zone. So first I do that one there, and then based on the wick as well. Then I'll do this one here based on the body, and then also some wicks at the very top. And I think the highest point there is all touch. So I've got about 4 lines here giving me the idea that since price has already moved under all these lines are really good in terms of giving us loads and loads of touch points for resistance. So here, you know, it looks like it's giving more, what do you call that, potential to the downside. One thing that you can actually do is to look at whether or not on the current price, if you look to the left, whether or not we can find single bearish candle to the downside as well is really important. Okay, so here, let me just look at this price. We've got something, but it's ending very soon as well. Let's see, because if we take price from there down a bit, got about 50 to 60 pips right there, okay, to the downside. Perhaps nothing that serious, you know, to go down too much. Maybe we don't know that yet, but it's just that we need to be sure that it has some power to the downside. You have something here. It has some power based on this long bearish candle right here, and then you find support there. That one there was about 240 pips, which is very good. So we want to look at that breakout point. If at all you're looking at selling further, we need to look at the current price. The current price has to be, well, the current price is at 75.10, but then, you know, as it comes down, it will then meet the closest psychological level will be at 75.00. So you want to mark that 75.00. Perhaps I'll just do that in red. Okay, so 75, sorry, 75.00. Okay. 75.00 right there. Then you've got it right there. Okay, good. Or those who are more conservative, you want to take it a notch lower at 74.90. Okay, then you want to start selling either. You need to, if you want to look at more selling power, basically the ideal selling type area or price would be at 74.90 anyway. Okay, so take that and we'll change that 74.90 here. Okay, so to sell, you want to look at selling at a safer, nicer zone under 75.00. So 74.90 would be ideal price. Now, if I look at this here, if you were to sell 74.90, you can actually then right along that bearish candle body right there, and then you want to look at exiting before the closing price right there, and that closing price was at 73.24, which is very close to 73.20. So it's probably best for us to exit earlier than 73.20 psychological level. 10 pips above the 73.20 will give you 73.30. So you want to exit at 73.30. Let me just 73.30. Okay, there you go. Right. So here it is, you know, giving me some opportunity for the sell for you guys as well. On the sell of AUD JPY, you can do a pending order perhaps. That itself is about 150 pips already. Yeah, so we were supported by this long candle right there. It was an up and then it was a down and then it was up all the way. So now probably it's due for a downward type movement. Okay, so on the weekly chart, on the 4-hour chart, we can see that it's, you know, it's got more chances on the 4-hour chart because as it goes lower, it will be going under the line, and then it has a chance to find support around here. Okay, so that would be an area to look out for here as well, because there's a support area, maybe very close to the that's 200 moving average, exponential moving average as well. If I mark that one there, you got some resistance there, and it's not too bad an area to consider to take profit if you are looking at that to the sell side, okay? And then you want to take profit, and then you want to actually sell again as it goes lower, okay? And you want to take a look at this area right here, okay? Right, and under that area, then you want to sell some more. So it's a little bit too early at this stage. We need the confirmation from the market to pierce through the 7500 area to go lower and go lower to the 7490 area. Okay. Okay, there you go. Gap of the market there as well. Okay, so AUD JPY. Let's look at the 1 hour chart. Okay. You got A, B, C, and then D to the downside. We've drawn all this area right here. If I were to use the Fibonacci from here, let's say that's my A point, then my C point would touch exactly at 61.8. If I take that higher and my A is higher, then it's only 38.2. I'm sure if I take it from there, then it wouldn't reach 38.2, but you need for the patterns trading, you need the C point to be at 61.8. So we've got a bit of a pattern here as well as possible. So let me change the color here to yellow so it gets it's more obvious. Not really. Let's see. Okay. Oh no, that's not good. Perhaps white, lighter blue, a bit better. Okay. A right there, B wick to wick, yeah, and then you take that down here, and you bring this one here. So with the geometric pattern as well, you're able to then not only look at where you can exit, you can look at where you can actually enter. That is based on this one here, the centroid, as I call it. There you go. So the centroid is marked there, yellow line. Okay. So even the yellow line there is giving us 75.20. So it's only at 75.10 that you can sell, or under 75.00. So that confirms it. Even through the pattern as well is giving us the indications. Yes, you can sell, but sell probably best under that line. Under that line there on the centroid as well has got all this area resistance right there. Resistant as well automatically. So that is drawn quite well. So this is quite a good pattern to look at what it will bring us. Okay, here as well. D point, you can see you got your support everywhere. Okay. So there you go. Now this is your plan for trading the Etlali. It's looking at selling under 7500, so your ideal price 74.90 probably. So your sell is under the B point. Okay, so your sell is 74.90, and then 74.60 would be ideal because the given D point is 74.47, so that's very close to 74.50 psychological level. So it's probably best for us to exit at 74.60. Okay. There you go. Good. All right, 74.60. So from the part of, I'll just use this line here as well. I'll change it to green, okay? That means your entry price. Green, take profit 74.60, enter 74.90, and that's roughly only about 29 pips or so. Okay, so but that's based on the 1 hour chart though. So this is your area for the sell. Now as it comes downwards here on the 1 hour chart, you can always look at how strong that trend is by using the average directional movement index. Okay, and you need to add the level 25. Now looking at that on the 1 hour chart, if I compare 1 hour chart and 4 hour chart, we have got the ADX above 25 on both 1 hour chart and 4 hour chart. So that gives us the hinting us that there are some participation strength of the downtrend. So there is a potential right there for AUD JPY, but I don't see it too much on the sell. That's probably a good safe area is to risk as well at 30 to 50 pips, but then your potential is about 30 pips right there. Okay, but just a probability potential, but it's not screaming out loud very strong trend or anything like that for now, because we're still on a 4 hour chart. We're trading in between the lines, which are in between the EMA lines, which are signs of riskiness at the moment. Okay, so that's AUD JPY. Is that okay? Any other questions before we move on to the next chart? That's the GBP CAD that we want to take a look at as well. And you've entered at 1.2972. Oh no, sorry, you take profit is there. Okay, GBP CAD. Let's look at GBP CAD very quickly. GBP CAD. All right, let's look at that. Very bullish on the first impressions itself on the 1 hour chart. Quite strong on the upside. A single candle right there is above all three lines, looking good on the upside. And then you have got more movements, expected movements as well to the upside, mainly after you compare it from 1 hour chart. Now you're looking at the 4 hour chart, it's giving you that, strongness to the upside as well. And then we go on to the daily chart right there. Again, it is above all the lines. It's actually making a headway to the upside as well. Okay, so what we can then do is to get some assurance in terms of the strength of the trend. The current strength of the trend is to the downside, correct? So you've got all this 1 hour chart is showing you that. But then let's look at overall. Overall on the daily chart, it is still giving us that idea to the upside. Okay, so there may be a chance, I'm not sure 100%, but then here has got a bit of a cup type pattern, or even like a J hook kind of a pattern, but then these patterns are giving us the idea of an upside bias as opposed to a downside bias. Okay, so daily is giving us that clarity. Okay, it's with a single candle, but we're trading at 73.02, so we need more room for the price to go up to at least 10 pips above 73.00, like 73.10. But for me personally, I think from looking at the charts just now on the 1 hour and the 4 hour as well, I would prefer to also test the market with more buying. So I would be a little conservative, wouldn't buy now or wait until it goes to the 1.7320 psychological area, and then start my buying only at 1.7330. So 7330 would be an ideal pending order buy for myself if I'm looking at buying the GBP CAD. So you're looking at your take profit. Maybe I've got the price wrong here, because this is GBP CAD. Was it not 2972 you said, or was it 79 something, or 73 something? Sorry. What was the price? Let me just take a look at your message again. GC, you said 2972. There's no such price. It's not GBP CAD. Maybe the price there is wrong, but it is GBP CAD you're talking about, right? 7321. Okay, good. So 7321, I would suggest 7310 to exit, because we may have a bit of a reversal at 73.20. So 73.10 if you can, to just, or 73.15 maybe. Also because you have traded Lali GBP CAD at which time frame? Was it the 1 hour, or which time frame would that be? See the price right now, just looking at it, we've got some resistance going on right there. So 7300 might actually start to reverse, but let me just apply the stochastic to look at whether we have divergence or not, because divergence will then keep us safe knowing whether or not there is divergence. If there is divergence, that means you are going to experience a reversal very soon. So look at this here. You've got a high here, and then to the current price, it's an upward slope, yeah? But then if you look at this area here, to the current price is a downward slope. So that means we have a divergence between the current price and also the stochastic. So that actually, I'm doing this on the 4 hour. It's got a bit of a reversal on the 4 hour, but let's look into the 1 hour chart. On the 1 hour chart, we still have the same divergence. Okay, so that's a slope downwards or almost the same, but then this one is a slope upwards. Okay, also between here and here, you can see that's a low, and then that's a higher low, right? And then here, for example, this is a low. Okay, but then look at that. Okay, this was higher than this, so that's an upward slope. This is a downward slope, so it doesn't match. If it doesn't match means it's got a reversal. That means that there is a divergence. Okay, so I would suggest maybe to just be a little careful, because it might actually then you know, probably best for you to take profit at about now, anyway between now and 73.10 maybe, because it's already going to 73.10 already, just one more pip perhaps before that, and then we might see that it might, you know, weaken a little bit, because 73.21 is not really a good price for you to take profit, because that's exactly where prices usually reverses, is at the psychological level of 73.20, and you are only one pip away from the 21. So because you have got this price at 73.21, your ideal price that you should actually go out is at 73.10, because 73.20 is your closest psychological level. You want to exit at least 10 pips before it hits 73.20. Okay, so there you go. This is basically it. And you can go on to the 30-minute chart or lower chart, and you can see whether or not the candles are beginning to give you signs of exhaustion. As you can see right there, it's got a bit of a sign of exhaustion right there. So I would suggest, instead of leaving it until 73.21, to actually exit either now or at 73, you know, before it reaches 73.20, basically. Okay. All right, there we go. Is that clear, Lali? Is okay for you? All good? Because if you want to buy again, then probably it would be good for you to buy at 73.30. That's 10 pips after, or 10 pips above the 73.20 psychological level. Is that good? Yes. Okay. All right. I think Talali has gone out of the room, because mainly probably the internet or something. It's not good. Okay, guys. The rest of you guys, okay so far? Any questions at all? All good? Yeah, of course we can, Alfred, no problem. So look at Euro USD and gold again, no problem. Let's look at Euro USD a little bit. No, we haven't seen, haven't looked at Euro USD actually properly. Yeah. So here, for example, on the daily chart, I have mentioned to you guys that it's going through a five wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and usually upon completion of the 5 wave, there it is on the way down as a zigzag A, B, C, D downwards. Okay. It is actually doing just that at the moment. It is still in that box though. I would feel much more relieved to know that it is going to go down a lot more if it goes further downwards and go under that box. Okay, so under that box is 1.15 something. So it's got, you know, it needs to go down at least 100 to 150 plus pips, and then you can have more of the relief that it will go down a lot more. Now I've mentioned this as well. Most of the what do you call that? I mentioned about how the, what do you call that, the movements and all this that has been going on are not the swing traders trade. So the swing traders and the big boys, they have actually traded on the sell actually for the Euro USD. So all the big banks as well and swing traders, retail swing traders as well, they have been parking their sell orders as well somewhere in the middle of the box and things like that. So yes, they have also traded on the buy, but then their bigger positions and all that are actually looking into the sell. Also because of a lot more expectation of more selling pressure with a lot more COVID cases expected in Europe, even in Cyprus as well. We're having more cases here. People are talking about possible lockdown again, but city by city, not the whole country. And but then in Germany and also in France, if I'm not mistaken, or Italy, we still have got more cases of COVID. But then with that, we also see that there are some new changes, policies and all that with the ECB as well. They have frozen loans and things like that just today got announced. And then we also have seen that there is a big pump of money into the US trillion of stimulus going to pump in there. So if the pumping is going to be there, then it will increase the value. I mean, by right, because of the flow of the money, it will actually then get pumped into the economy. So giving more confidence for the people, that means the USD would then go up. Then that would then, if that at the same time goes on to the negativity of what's happening in Europe, then we will see more selling opportunity for the Euro USD. Okay, so at this stage on a daily chart, we don't really see much movement, and things are sort of like stuck here a little bit. Okay, as you can see, but it got a bit of a body of a bearish candle there. Now that's exactly at the 1.1748 area, which is very close to the 1750 psychological level, because I've given it a bit more room. If at all it wants to go up more, then it may find a second area to resist, which is at the 1800s area. So I'm giving it another 50 plus pips or so, if at all any surprises, because sometimes the market will trick the buyers as well, you know, of thinking that they can go up much more, and then as more participants go in, then you know they will take profit, and then it will leave the market to reverse. Okay, so here, for example, I'm expecting it to make maybe a little bit. If it does make a little move, then it will go to the 1800s area, but then that would probably be a nice completion of the five pattern, five wave, the fifth wave right there. But if not, you know, it's starting to come down. But let's look at lower time frame, like 30 minutes, for example. You can see that it has already depreciated quite a bit on lower time frames, especially, you know, 30 minutes, 50 minutes already started the downward move. On the 1 hour move, you see it found support here. That is a bit confusing right there. So we need price to come down a little bit more, because now it is trading at 1728 or so. I need it to go to the 1720, and then from 1720 to go down even more. Okay, so 1700 area for it to go down would probably be good to see that the sellers are starting to come in. Okay, so but at this stage, still quite early, but then it is happening slowly to depreciate. in terms of the price, but again, it's a lot of area. It's got on the 4 hour though, what is good is that it's got this pin bar type candle right there, and we want more bearishness to happen, of course. And then here, for example, we want to also look at whether or not at this area, I think we have seen it before, whether this area has got lots of selling pressure. And we have lots of selling pressure at this area as well. It's a longish candle. We've got some more there. So, going down, let's say following the candle, we've got another 20 plus pips, right down to about 30 pips or so. It's still possible. And as we go to the left much more. What we need though is price to go under 1720, as we've mentioned earlier on, because at 1720 is this giant support area in the past. Okay, so that's why we need price to go under 1720, because that appreciation of price was about 800 plus pips. Okay, and we've got loads of support area there, and now the current price is exactly there. So we just need more of negative news, of course, for the Euro USD to pull the prices much lower and go lower than this crazy support area right there, because I think I've counted the touch point of this area at 1720, and I think it was about 25 touch points, especially minimum 50 to 100 pips type movement to the upside, and the touch point was at least about 25. Okay, so that's a lot, actually, a lot of resistance. Some small ones I don't count, but then about 50 to 100 pips or so. So about 25 is the minimum. I think it was more than that. So it is a very significant area of support. So we need price to go under that. So then we will look at fresh new sell. Then selling will take place. Then it would be, because you've got some resistance as well, of course. See, oh, not there, sorry, that was wrong place. There you go. It's got all this support here as well, so I'm going to be quite careful with it. So at this stage, I think for Euro USD, we just need more catalyst on the negative side. Driving factor that could drive prices lower. Okay, and that should then help sellers from earlier on, especially swing traders and those who have sell, to actually look into the Euro USD going downwards. Okay, so at this stage, still a bit early, but we are seeing signs of reversals already taking place in lower time frame. Okay, at this stage as well, if those who wants to actually start selling as well, it's not really ideal, because the price is, it's just too sensitive an area. It's also within the box as well, but perhaps we want to look at 1700 and below for those who wants to sell again or want to look into selling more. 1700 and below will probably be better, and it's also better for us to look into what happens tomorrow in terms of the data that we can find. Let me just check that. Give me a second, guys. Let me just check on tomorrow's economic calendar whether or not we have got anything expected as high impact for euro. Okay, so in the eurozone, tomorrow is Wednesday the 29th already, so we are seeing July just passed. Okay, so we have got quite a number of high impact news tomorrow. Not too many, but one that concerns mostly Australia, like the consumer price index and all that. We've got two high impact news, a high impact data release for Australia tomorrow, and we also have that will be about 9 o'clock in the morning for you guys in Malaysia. and because it's about 4:30 in the morning for me here, and early morning basically. And then we also have the things that will impact things that will impact the US mainly, which is the interest rate decisions. Okay, and we've got three following events. You got they usually give you the interest rate decision made, and then the policy statement, and then a press conference after that. So it usually comes in three. Okay, so we have the US in that, but I don't really see, apart from the Euro non-monetary policy, ECB, there is a meeting though, that is about 5 o'clock, no, sorry, that's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon Malaysian time, which is 10 o'clock in the morning my time tomorrow. We have just a bit of a meeting, but again, you know, this ECB meeting, because of all the things that are happening in Europe, it could actually spiral into more impact and stuff like that, especially with how the media, mainstream media, spins the news as well. Okay, so yeah, it's something to look at, but also at the same time, we have got retail sales for Spain. We also have consumer confidence for France, and we also have the import price index for Germany. But all these are sort of classified or categorized under low to medium impact. But again, as I've mentioned, you know, since we've got so many Euro news, you know, with different countries as well, even Italy producer price index will come out, and because of that, because we've got so many Euro thing going on and so many countries that are giving out their data, I think it might also impact Europe. So one news to look at is to look at three countries, especially four countries actually, in the Eurozone, especially Germany. Then you've got France, Italy, and Spain. These four countries, we want to look at news revolving not only their economy, but mainly the COVID situation, because the COVID situation is jamming up the economy at this moment of time, jamming up flows, jamming up a lot of things. Okay, so when the COVID situation, their economic sort of report or news about their economy being impacted by COVID, and also if at all there is some what do you call that, trade news between China and Europe, or China and Germany, or something like that, then it would then impact the market quite a lot as well. So now we are looking at 4-hour Euro USD. You can see that you've got a bit of a continuation of the candles to the downside. You see, there you go. You've got the bearishness happening right there. Okay, there you go, guys. So yeah, we've also got, that's on Wednesday. Thursday onwards, not a very heavy sort of calendar for economic data release. But again, I think next week, which is your NFP and all that. So for you guys who are interested in economic calendar, I know economic calendar, economic data release, and how news trading can actually be impacted, you know, how the market can be impacted by news, and how you do a bit of a news trading, certain setups and all that, you can join my webinars. And next week we'll do coverage. Let me just show you on webinars that we will be doing next week onwards. So next week onwards, from the 3rd of August, I think that's a Monday, right? Or not? Yes, so from Monday the 3rd right to 7th, Friday the 7th, I'll be covering different types of, I mean, different topics, of course, but different types of news data release. Okay, so on the 3rd, for example, we'll start with ISM manufacturing. What is that, you know? And we will look into the USD and USD crosses in particular, because on that day we will have ISM manufacturing index, and then we want to look at how did it impact the market, and how do we actually you know, be sure of, not be sure, but then look at high probability ways of looking at trend before the release, and what kind of impact did it actually give in the market. Because you have ISM manufacturing or PMI, for example, and usually it's classified or categorized as high impact data release, and it can be for the US, it can be for another country as well, and all that. So that's why ISM manufacturing is quite good for us to also consider, you know, trading at the time or before or after or during, let's say, because it creates a lot of volatility as well. And it's also giving us a bit of an idea of how the economy of that country particularly fared with regards to manufacturing, the manufacturing sector and all that. And that can then give us a bit of an idea of the trend for that country or that currency that we are trading. And that is basically how we are going to approach the market next week on the webinars. I want to connect to these fundamental side as well. Okay, then we have got on the 4th on Tuesday, we can talk about retail sales. Again, it will be different for each country, but I think on that day, it will reflect Australia's retail sales. So we can look at Australia AUD crosses, okay, to trade on that day. And then we can look at employment change. We will use New Zealand as an example because New Zealand will release its employment change rate, what it is, and all that I'll explain. And we've got quite a good one on Thursday, which is central bank monetary policy. And this one will revolve around the UK's monetary policy. They'll be releasing their monetary policy. And with all the Brexit and a couple of other things, I would guess that from the day before onwards, or even in the beginning of the week, they will talk about Brexit and everything else. And we want to look at how the news will connect and combine with the data release of the monetary policy, and it will create a lot of volatility and opportunities for us to trade. Then we will use GBP crosses as our sample setups, trade ideas, and everything else. Then we will go into Friday, which is, of course, NFP, first Friday of the month. And we will look into USD crosses and the volatility of it and everything else. So this is how I plan to combine fundamentals for next week. And the week after that, then we will plan more on technical strategy as well. So you've got a lot of topics that I have planned as well, even the psychological related topics, trade plan as well. I am thinking of having webinars on just setting up your trade plan itself, all the checklists of things and how to create a good trade plan. Also on the money management, risk management side, we want to drill deep into drawdowns and also, you know, to look into all the areas that we have not paid a lot of attention in terms of money and risk management. Also, maybe other areas that you guys have thought about that need more brushing up, you can always just suggest to me and I can easily slot it in and create webinars based on topics suggested as well. Okay, guys. All right, guys, any questions at all? You guys are okay so far? Yeah. So take a look at this area when you want to register for webinars as well. So it's all here, and I always will have the webinars description and everything else, you know, planned ahead and submit that, and then we have it inserted into the website like this. So then you can see all that done. Okay, past webinars, you can see it right there as well. Okay. All right. Any questions, guys? You guys are okay? So far, so good? Yeah. Yes, I've almost forgotten that. Okay, of course. Gold, yeah. So a Euro USD is quite clear. Let's go on to gold. All right. Gold is really interesting. It has actually broken out from the pattern that I have shared with you, which actually means that the pattern is successful. Okay, so it's becoming more and more successful, which is a very good thing. I'm on a gold trade as well. So you see that cup here, yeah. Now it has broken, as you can see, it has broken the mouth of the cup. Now, what I would actually be looking at is reversal. I would like to look at where the reversal would actually happen. Okay, that's the most important thing at this stage, is because the reversal would then confirm where would it reverse to. If the reversal reversed towards and just this area here, okay, this area which is the mouth of the cup area, reverse and then reverse and then reverse back up again from the mouth of the cup area, then I would say that this cup and handle pattern will start. Okay, but the only worry that I have is that it didn't create the how you call that, the handle of the cup. That's my only worry. Okay, it should actually be creating the handle of the cup. So I will still be very, very skeptical of this move because it could either fail this pattern and just go up a lot and then surprise the market and just come down all of a sudden. Okay, so in saying that, I think it's probably better for us to evaluate the trend for now in different time frames as well. Let me just clear all the drawings. Okay, so here on the weekly, because the weekly has got a very clear chart, but I'm not saying that I'm based on the weekly because I trade the weekly. No, I'm just going through giving you the big picture first because it's really clear on the weekly chart that cup and handle. But as we go up this way, um, it usually should be reversing there. So maybe what could be a better idea to do is to look at ABCD to the upside, and then you can trade your ABCD pattern instead of the cup and handle for now. So if I go on to the, let's say, a daily chart, you can see that the trend is really clear. Trend is to the upside. And the other thing that we cannot do for gold so much is to look so much to the left, yeah, because we don't have much data to the left because it has actually gone up so much, and then you don't have any data that has gone down that much as well. So hence the reason you're quite limited with the data on the left. Okay, now if we are looking at trading that way, then what you can do if you don't have much data to the left, but you've got a lot of ABCD going up, then you can actually trade with a pattern. Okay, your ABCD pattern to the upside. Now, if I go into the 1 hour chart, you can see that it went up there, correct, and then now on the way up again. So hence the reason I said you can actually look into patterns, okay, and you can find your low, for example, and look at 61.8, 78 points or 78.6, because gold is really quite sensitive on the Fibonacci and it likes the 61.8 and 78.6. Sometimes it likes the 88.6 as well, but let's say you are pulling it from here. Anywhere you just find any low, just so that you get an idea of where the 61.8 could be. So I've got one here that's a low that creates a 61.8. What if I go slightly up? Even this one here is not too bad, but you need to do it from the body to the body, like that. Yeah, body to the body. But I prefer usually week to week. So let's say I take that one there. Okay, and okay, it's a little bit up there. So here you have got, yeah, okay, not too bad. So that is where I would pull it. Okay, so then what we do is start drawing your potential ABCD pattern, A to B, okay, B to C, okay, and then looking up this way. At this stage, the centroid is, of course, very, very important. Okay, we've already got it just about to cross the centroid, giving you opportunity of buying. The other thing about gold as well is that we are not able to plot lines based on psychological numbers, because psychological numbers are more applicable on the currencies. Okay, so here, as you can see, okay, it's moving upwards, but what you can do though is still use your ADX. Okay, so you can put your ADX the same way. You can see that the volume is not that much on the 1 hour, but then it's more on the 4 hour and the daily, which actually means that perhaps there may be a bit of a correction. So you need your stochastic, okay? And you go onto the 4 hour chart as well. Look at this. On the upside, everything, but look at how these are moving, your stochastic. Um, hmm. Not very clear. Give me a second. Let's go to daily chart. Not very clear. Okay, you've got no sort of divergence that is really clear. It's usually better in the with currencies when you use your stochastic, but usually with gold or commodities, it's always better with just trend line. That's why I used patterns as well. You've got a bit of a divergence here though. Okay, so yeah, maybe a bit of reversal. It's probably better to also look at hints from very, very long time frame. Now, when you look at the monthly, it's just giving us still room to the upside, mainly because of how the nature of a very strong bullish candle. Then on the weekly chart, it's the same thing. Okay, so yes, you do have that flow of buyers coming in, bullishness, and that is reflected by the ADX as well. So if I go from the 30 minutes chart, it's weak on the 30 minutes chart, weak on the 1 hour, but then picking up on the 4 hour. Okay, so I think it's probably best for us to just look at a very short type buy, but then limited at 1963 or 1960, let's say. Yeah, because you've got a bit of a, resistant type area right there, especially on the 4 hours, because the 4 hours only shows you that, and you don't see that on the daily or the weekly. And if you go to the 1 hour, you see that as well. So you see that you've got that resistance right there, and that is set there. It's 1971 on the 1 hour chart. So it's probably good for us to base that on the 4 hour, which is 1964. Okay, so I would think if you are doing a buy right now, it's probably better for you to exit at 1960. Yeah, so that's just a bit of a short type buy because you still have some buying type power interest. I think last minute type, but I also see that it may actually reverse because here on the 1 hour, for example, you can see on the 1 hour. See here, the high, and then the price ongoing, high, price. But here, sorry, on the stochastic, sorry. You see here, high, and then the price now here is lower. But then on the stochastic, it's almost at the same level, almost. It's not very far down, you see. So if that becomes at the same level right there, I think we are expecting a little bit of a reversal. So if you are buying, make sure you are actually exiting at least at the 1960 area. Okay, just in case, because it might actually have the reversal happening quite soon. Also with, yeah, also this one here, not so much, but it's quite clear of a potential there. Okay, so I'm going to turn this into a rate, and see that there, the peak there to the price. Currently, it's a downward slope. Yeah, that red line here and here, it's almost at the same level. Okay, so we have a bit of a divergence going on, especially on the 1 hour chart. So how soon, when, we are not really that sure. Yeah, we're not sure. So, but then it's coming. It's probably coming, a reversal. Okay, on the 1 hour chart especially. But again, maybe it's a mini correction or not. I'm not that sure. It does actually depend on the US dollar. Okay, because at the moment, US dollar is picking up. You got the euro coming down. You got the US dollar picking up. So US dollar picking up, dollar going down. Then the what do you call that? The gold will also be going going down if, for example, the US dollar is going up. So you can always measure that and look at GBP as well, GBP USD and also USD JPY, just to give you a bit of an idea of what USD is doing. So you can see USD is to the downside on the daily chart. So that means the yen is still very strong. Hence the reason perhaps this is the reason why the gold has still got a lot of room, maybe to the upside. But then if specifically you're looking at the daily and the 1 hour chart, there may be a bit of a reversal at the moment. So let me just check one more thing, which is the Vix Index. Not Vix Vapor Up, Vix as in VIX, okay? That's the fear index. If the fear index is high, then we are looking at potential gold going up even more, okay? So at the moment, the VIX index, if you just type VIX index, you can see that it is up, okay, to the upside. That means it's high, okay? This is called the fear index. If the fear index is high, that means there's fear in the market. And if that is high, that means they will put a lot of focus onto safe havens. That's why you see USD JPY is on the downside, because they are buying the yen. Okay, so because they are buying the yen, that's the reason. And also because now you can see that the gold is up, but then just don't get overly excited. Want to buy as I said, but then exit, following the 1 hour chart, when take it in stages, just come out at that level that I've mentioned earlier on, and just to be on the safe side so that you don't get floating too high. So 1960 perhaps, or 1960, 1955, 1960, try to exit just to get that little bit of power right there. But don't get overly excited with the rest. Okay, this is for the 1 hour chart. Okay, all right. Any questions so far? You guys okay, Alfred? Is that all right? Okay, cool. All right. There's a lot of chances, for buying gold, but I would prefer for it to pass through the resistance, like here on a 1 hour, pass through that resistance that you can see on the left. There's not many though. This is a good thing. After it has passed this one, you don't have many on the left for it to pass through. So it's quite a clear run marathon through after that. Or the other thing is that we don't know, if it goes past that area and you don't see any resistance to the left, yeah, that actually means it could then be very sensitive to the factor outside. So anything, it could then be very sensitive to the dollar's movements, and then safe haven movements, geopolitical situation, all this kind of stuff. Then you have to do a lot more news trading when you don't see the technical data available to the left. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it. All right, guys. Tlali, all good? Yeah, perfect. Okay, guys, I think that's all I have for you guys so far. If you guys have got no questions anymore, then we can end the session, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is, Wednesday. All right. Okay, guys, all good? All right, guys. If no questions, I will thank you guys. Thank you very much, Chenko. You too. Have a good night's sleep, everybody. Have a good night's rest, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys gain some pips while you sleep. This is very important. Okay. And yeah, let's do it tomorrow again. Same time, same channel. Take care, guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.